What's going on, guys? Today what we're going to be doing is actually hardwiring my radar detector into the car. Now that the car is decently fast, I tend to race around a little bit, and it's nice to know where the police are hanging out, especially if they got a radar gun. This doesn't stop me from at all being detected, because obviously cops aren't always using the radar guns, as well as sometimes they have laser here in Connecticut, but with laser you're pretty much just done. So I run Waze as well, and the two of them combined, I've had a couple of saves from the Detector and definitely a bunch more from Waze. So it's nice to have set up in the car. I have it in my truck because I do most of my long distance driving with that, but I'd like to get a hardwire set up for both of them because it's just much cleaner. I don't like the cable hanging down in my view. So what I'm going to do is route this hardwire kit in. So all we need for this, it comes nice and fused. It's a 2 amp fuse, I think. So we just got to give this ignition power. So when the key is on in the car, the detector comes on, and give this a local ground somewhere to the chassis. And then this is the RJ11 plug right here that plugs into the side of the detector. And that should be it. This thing should power up when I turn the key on, and I can route this cable nice and out of the way. The only downside is that the factory or the cable that comes with this that goes into the cigarette lighter has a indicator LED and a mute button on it as well, but it's not really too big of a deal. I have it on auto mute anyway, so if I hear the detector, I hear it. I don't need the light. So I think this is a much cleaner install, and the reason being I wanted to do it on this car is because I only have one cigarette lighter in the car. Just hit the camera there, nice. But I only have one cigarette lighter in the car, and currently I'm using it to power my inverter to run my laptop so I can tune the car while I drive and not have my laptop die since it's old. So I need to power the detector as well, and I also don't like the big cord hanging here. So we're going to try to power this thing up and see if we can get it to run hardwire. So I went ahead and threw the detector on the windshield where I think I'm going to want it. This is about where my head is, so I can see it pretty good. Can't really hit the buttons all that great, but I don't really mess with the buttons too much. Once you have the settings set, you just pretty much leave it. So it's set up there pretty straight on the windshield. You kind of want it to be in the center and as high as it goes, because that's your best chance of picking up radar. Some people do put it lower on the dash. It's just not going to be as effective down there. But up here it should be good. It has a slight upward angle to it. I might try to fix that, but it's not too bad. I think it should still be okay. So I ran the wire up here and just tucked it in the headliner. It's kind of poking out in a couple of areas, you can see. I'm going to try to tuck it back in there. Hopefully it'll stay once I'm done messing with the wiring. But I tucked it in. I pulled the weather strip out on the window. Not on the window, but on the pillar up there. And I was able to tuck the wire in the pillar all the way down. And I got it down here where it's coiled. And now I just need to find my ignition source. So I'm just going to go ahead and probe some wires. My fuse box is actually inside here, so I've got the one that was in the under the hood. I put it in here, so now I have those fuses to tap from. If I can't find anything I want to use there, I can always work it over to the driver's side, and there's a ton of ignition wires and stuff like that I can tap. So yeah, we're gonna see what we're gonna use for power on this thing. It doesn't need too much power, just a little bit, so we shouldn't have any issues. Tap it into something. All right, so I did tap a power source down here. It's this red wire with the green heat shrink tubing on it. That's all the way on the left side there. That's my power source for it gives me ignition power, key on power. And then my ground is over on this side behind this carpet here. I'd be able to see it around the corner there. It's just one 10 mil bolt that goes through a ring terminal up in there, and that grounds right to the chassis. So I wasn't able to do it on the other side, so this side ended up working out better for me. But now, if you look at the detector, when I turn the key on, it powers up and it's ready to go. So now we don't have to worry about anything, like plugging it in or unplugging it. It's just with ignition power. When I turn the key off, off goes the detector. So that's pretty cool. What's going on, everybody? So I have some news about the car. It's still running great and everything, but I did figure out another issue that I was having, all due to my stupidity. Remember how I had all the stuff incorrectly wired? Well, another thing that I had incorrectly wired was I had two other plugs switched. The intake air temperature sensor, apparently that one and the evap purge solenoid both have red and yellow wires. So when looking at all my sheets over here for my wiring, I saw that, it said red and yellow, and I was like, okay, we're good to go. I plugged it in, but I just metered the connections because I felt like there's been a problem with my intake air temperature sensor for a while now, since in the ECU it was reading -22. And I believe what happened was when I put the car back together, I swapped the plugs for the evap purge solenoid, and that gets 12 volts. So that 12 volts was going to the intake air temperature sensor, which is supposed to get a 5-volt reference and then measure the resistance, or it measures the voltage coming back based on the resistance, and the resistance of the sensor changes based on the temperature in the actual intake. So that's how that works. But I was basically sending it 12 volts. So I burnt the thing out. And if you can take a look at this sensor here, there's like a burn mark on it. Like this thing is shot. And, it's definitely blown. And that's definitely my bad. It reads open. I tried to meter the resistance on it, and it reads completely open. So it is shot. That's why I've been reading -22. But not only that, I've also had the sensor plugged into the evap purge solenoid. So the reason that the check light was on was because I unplugged the evap stuff, which in turn was actually the IAT sensor, which should have been plugged in over there. And so my check light that I had on was probably for an IAT code, even though I didn't check the blinks to find out how many, since it's OBD1's a pain. But yeah, so I just figured that out. So I'm kind of mad, but also happy at the same time, because I think that's going to fix my rich condition on startup. I think that's why I'm having so many issues like that I can't seem to tune, because I had a faulty sensor, because I broke it, because I plugged it in wrong. So I got a new sensor coming, and I'm going to plug it in the right plug this time, and we should be good. Now that I got that out of the way, I make the mistakes so you guys don't have to. But I do have these sway bar bushings that I've had for a long time, and I want to put these in the car, and I think they're somewhere in my boxes of parts over here. I don't know where it is. I'll find them, but they're in there somewhere. I want to throw those in the car because I have squeaky sway bar bushings on the passenger side. It squeaks pretty bad, and these are an upgraded Prothane bushing, so they should be pretty stiff. And the coilovers have been ordered, so they are on the way. So I would like to put these bushings in. I like to feel all the differences of the upgrades. So like I like to do things one at a time. Like I want to do the bushings now, and then do the coilovers in a separate occasion, so I can feel the difference that the bushings give me as far as the anti-roll bars and how they handle and stuff like that. So I'm going to throw those in, see if I feel it get any stiffer, and if I do, cool. If not, whatever. But I just want to know the difference with the upgraded bushings. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this wheel off, remove the link, see if we can get the old bushing out, and slide the new one in right after I find them. So good news, I found the bushings, but I wanted to show you guys, this is a prime example of the squeak noise I'm talking about. I think it is the sway bar bushing. So it's pretty loud, especially when I go over bumps and stuff. So I'm hoping that it is the sway bar bushing and that fixes our problem. If not, they need it to be changed out for a stiffer one anyway, just because I want this thing to handle like a track car. So now that we got the wheel off, I think our first step is going to be to take off this sway bar link right here, this guy. And then after we take that off, we can take off this old bushing under here. Make sure you can see it. Yeah, it's this guy right here is our old bushing. So we're gonna take that out. I think that's probably what's giving us that squeak. And so once we get rid of him, we should fix the squeak noise, hopefully, but also be a little stiffer. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this part right here, and then we'll see if we can slide the old one off. So here's the link removed, and I removed this with these two 12s right here, 1 and 2, and then our old bushing came right out. So this old bushing, you can see, very easy for me to open. It flexes. Yeah, pretty easy for me to open. It's rather rubbery. But this other bushing that I have over here is not. This is hard, like a rock. I can barely open this, so it's gonna be tough to actually even slide this on. But once we get it on, it should be much stiffer. Hopefully not squeaky. So this is all fully installed. You can probably see the red bushing down there. And I installed the end link as well, tightened it down. So I'm gonna throw the wheel back on and move on and knock the other side out. And then I guess it'll be the moment of truth whether this thing squeaks when we let it down or not. Whether I fix the squeak problem, but we'll still have to take it for a test drive and see exactly how this thing handles. So I got the other side knocked out. We're all installed, torqued down and everything. So I'm ready to lower the car down, got the jacks out. So it's kind of the moment of truth. I know the back is still squeaking, so you may hear the back, but I want to see if the front squeaks. I haven't listened yet. I'm going to let it down, and we will see if it makes a noise. Still a little squeak. I don't know. We'll have to see if it goes away while I'm driving, but sounds like there's still a bit of a squeak. Maybe it's a control arm bushing or something like that, but I do want to feel the difference in stiffness. It does feel a bit stiffer up front, but you know, that just could be me. So we'll have to see on a test drive. Alright, so thanks guys for watching the video on changing out these sway bar bushings. They're Prothane, so they should be much stiffer. Even though it didn't fix my squeak problem, it is what it is. We should have a little bit stiffer of a, you know, anti-roll bar, so that's pretty cool. I'd like to do the back as well, but we also got to figure out what those squeaks are. Could be something related to the coil and strut assembly, but I don't think so. I'm leaning towards like a control arm bushing, but I have new upper control arms in bushing, so it's got to be either the lower control arm or something else. I don't know. I'm going to change the coilovers relatively soon, and if that doesn't take care of it, then I'll look into it further. But I already got some parts on the way for this thing, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, pretty pumped. Have to take this thing for a ride and see how much better it handles with just the bushings on the sway bar. Peace out though. Thanks for watching.